talking basketball. They're fucking dumb as shit. They talk about basketball, but they will make dumb ass jokes.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pod Don't Lie with Sam and Stav. We are here, another quarantine pod for that ass. We're very happy. We're very lucky to have our buddy, stand-up comic, Cauvin. He's popping in, talking hoops, a Jazz fan. Jail, thanks for doing the show. I feel like I've known you from DC for 10 years, where I was just doing open mics. You were like featuring at the Improv, and then you've had a bunch of
later, I'm featuring at the Improv.
I know JL from we drove to a festival like
Asheville,
close to 10 years ago.
And
wow.
I remember when I already knew I'd seen you do stand up, but I remember I like ate it on stage and you crushed at the at that I have visceral memories from comedy.
But you made it funny. Even like you kind of like some comics kind of will deny the bomb. You soaked it in and it made it funny.
Yeah, something you get. I think that's been like my comedy career. You take lemons and maybe you don't make lemonade, but you make it lemonade for other people. Even though you're still sucking on lemons.
Right. That's my sexual career is actually what I've done. That's how I've done. Accepted the bombing and done the best of it. But you're a great stand-up, but you're also
back of the room when you're having
the comics. What would it be? What's the sexual equivalent of a comics comic? I'm like
you're like the Bobcat of
yeah.
I don't know.
Like somebody who other guys that are bad at fucking like to watch fuck. I guess that's just a gay guy. I guess I'm just a bear. Anyway, real tangent here on the intro, but Jail, great stand-up and great impressions. I remember years ago you had all those comedy school videos, and now you got your Trump impressions are popping off. And but yeah, man, we're really and more importantly for this podcast, a real Utah Jazz fan.
Yeah,
a non-white Utah Jazz fan, one of the rarest basketball fans there is.
A beige Utah fan who's only been to Utah once in his life and lived in New York his whole life. I went to one game in 2010. It's a funny story because the game was phenomenal. They won in overtime over the Thunder. And this was like Darren Williams, young Durant, and young Westbrook. It was an OT win. Williams hit a three with like 4 seconds left in OT, and then Durant got fouled, but they didn't call it, and we won. Yeah. But the craziest thing about that, I went by myself because my girlfriend at the time, I was going to go out. I was like, "Do you want to go?" But then I was like, "You know what? It's late in the season. They're doing well. If we get 2 tickets, I'll be up in, section 4,000.
Right.
If I get one ticket, I was in 8th row center court.
Whoa.
So I was like, I'm going by myself.
Yeah.
And my mom got me one of those Jumbotron messages, like happy birthday, because it was like 2 weeks before my birthday. I left my seat for 5 minutes during the whole game and missed it. And she didn't want to tell me because she thought a surprise would be cooler. So I missed my happy birthday, JL.
That's fucking hilarious. You didn't even know about it until you got home and your mom's like,
after the game, she's like, "Did you see it?" And I was like, "I did not."
That's fucking hilarious. Wait, that's crazy. I didn't realize. So you grew up in New York.
Yeah.
And you only went to Utah after becoming a Jazz. So how did that happen that you are in? Because I guess you grew up the Malone years and the whatever, but like hit me.
The Knicks were good in the 90s, and you still avoided.
Well, this was 80s. This was late 80s. I became a Jazz fan.
Okay.
And I think it was just honestly, maybe it's my personality. Even as a kid, my mom was a Knicks fan. My older brother was a big Knicks fan. And I think I was just like, I'd like to do something different.
Hysterical.
Yeah. And then the joke I tell, which I don't think it's true, but maybe on a subconscious level it is, like my father was black, my mother is white, and the marriage was just my whole life. They were just basically arguing and yelling at each other for 40 years. Yeah. And that watching Malone and Stockton, I always joked, it was like, here's this tall black man getting along with this feisty Irish Catholic. Hey, look, it can happen. It can work.
Hilarious. Yeah.
I don't know if that was just my subconscious, but I liked Stockton and Malone, and just stuck with them. Kirilenko was the reason I stayed a Jazz fan when they retired.
People forget what a beast he was.
AK-47, baby.
He was just cool enough and interesting enough that I was like, even though our team kind of sucks, I kind of like watching this link to the Sloan,
for sure,
Malone, Stockton years. And then they've been up and down since, but they've had enough talent for me to, not feel like an idiot for staying with them.
Kirilenko kind of looks like he could be like the star of a Liam Neeson Taken type movie.
Oh, sure.
But like 100%. An emo Russian version of it. You know?
Yeah. He's the bouncer at like a really cool Russian nightclub.
Yes.
Oh, easy. He's in the John Wick universe. It's not even, it would be so easy for him to get in there.
How many defensive stoppers have weird ass hair like that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's rare.
He did have hair like a scene girl. Like he had the same kind of hair as like a 13-year-old girl really into Fall Out Boy. You know what I mean?
Well, he had so many hairstyles. He had like the banged look, and then he had the porcupine spike.
Do you know how disrespectful it is to get locked down by a flock of seagulls?
Yeah.
You know?
But he's such a weird, like he has so many bullet points that people know about for a guy who's only an all-star once. Like he had the hall pass from the wife.
The hall pass, of course. We've mentioned it on this show before.
He had the 5x5 where he had like 3 or 4 games in his career with 5 in at least 5 categories.
Right.
He made an all-star team. He had just the greatest nickname, I'd say. I think AK-47 is an unbelievable, probably intentional that he got 47. You gotta have 4.
Yeah, that's a god tier nickname. And also
the answer, the truth. It's like in that category.
Yeah,
like the best.
Oh, yeah, he punches above his weight in terms of nickname. Also, the fact that his name was Andre Kirilenko, if it was like some guy named Adam like Klein, it cannot be AK-47. You know what I mean? It's got to be a fucking Russian who had that kind of weird like in-your-face game. And you know what? That's the kind of guy that ages incredibly well in today's game.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about 3 and D, just like
that whole team, dude. They had Memo Core at the 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like that whole team is kind of sneaky good. Boozer could shoot the jump shot.
We were ahead of our time. We were ahead of where we, if that team today would be exactly like, they have a stretch 5. They have a versatile 4. They have
and Darren Williams was Darren versus Chris Paul as the best point guards. And then he kind of
It was a credible argument. It was a credible argument, even though I still think, you might disagree, JL. I don't know how much what a Williams fan guy you were, but I still think Chris Paul was like, I thought he was better, but
at the time I didn't think so because Darren Williams was bigger. He had that great 3-point shot. Head to head, it was kind of like the way Yao owned Dwight Howard head to head.
Yeah. And they went to the playoffs more too. I mean, Jazz when he was as a young player, they were in the playoffs a lot.
Oh yeah. Chris Paul, though, I mean, his body of work. Now, the fact that Chris Paul is still so good, that's what's incredible to me, because even though I'm a Stockton guy, obviously, watching Chris Paul, when he caught that alley-oop in the All-Star game, I didn't even know he could get up like that. And I'm like, you're 35, you look chunky, and you just caught an oop at 6 feet. That's incredible.
I don't think he dunked in a game in like 4 years.
It totally made me go, you got to be kidding me.
He's so underappreciated, Chris Paul, because he gets shit now because he's kind of like that guy. He kind of gets blamed for that Clippers team, but like that Clippers team's not even in the mix without him.
No, he's awesome.
He beat the Spurs that game winner in the playoffs. Like he's had moments. He just it hasn't really been the right. He needs like an elite small forward.
The Thunder, what's weird about this year, I mean, whatever we had of this year, is that I think because he was on a team where he was the undisputed veteran, there was nobody else competing. It showed that he could lead like kind of a mediocre young squad or a squad that's not ready yet, but they were playing really well, way above what anybody expected.
Yeah.
Is he one of your favorites to watch? And who are your guys to watch who are non-Jazz
I hate
players?
Chris Paul, but I respect him. Like I find him really annoying, but I can't. He's clutch. He's super skilled. Even at this age, he still looks like a young player.
Yeah.
LeBron. I mean, I love LeBron.
Yeah.
I think I was fortunate. Like unlike when Jordan was at his peak, you know, he was competing with the Jazz, so I had to hate Jordan. I couldn't just watch and enjoy. Same, I'm sure, as a Knicks fan.
Brutal.
Not busy going, he's amazing. You're like, fuck that dude. He's ruining my life.
Now I like everybody. It's great now. It's
well, that's what I'm saying. When your team sucks, you're just like, hoops is awesome. Isn't it awesome, all this talent? That's how I felt with LeBron. Like, he rose during the worst years of the Jazz, so I could just watch him and be like, this guy is amazing.
Yeah, he is amazing.
Sam's only rivalries now are with the teams in the lottery. He's pissed that the Warriors have more losses than the Knicks.
That's so true. I'm mad at the Pistons. I'm like, come on, Rose, you could have won a few more games for the Pistons.
Love Klay Thompson. I'm a big fan of.
Oh, he's amazing, yeah.
Just because I think sometimes, see, Curry is in that class where when he's playing someone else, I'm like, God, I love Steph Curry. Yeah. And as soon as he starts shoulder shimmying against my team, I'm like, somebody take him out at the knees.
Klay is absolutely, dude. Klay, I think, is the guy on that team where it's like, even if, because I'm a Warriors hater just out of principle.
Sure. And
Klay is the guy that he's so weird and like such a space, like such a weird guy. And he's like, you can tell he sacrifices for the team. He plays hurt. He's like, he'll go out there. He wants to be out there.
When he wanted to stay in the finals on a torn Achilles.
Yeah.
Like, all right, this dude's a fucking badass.
Yeah, and he fucks. That's the other thing. Everyone knows him as like a weird, like, you know, like weird space cadet, but he also just fucks constantly, and it's like, it's such a fun. He's like
Stav is weird. He's a weird spreadsheet where you have to hit every box. You can't just be a good catch and shoot player. Yeah. You have to be unfaithful in relationships.
Well, he's not. Well, here's the thing. He's not married. Yeah.
But he was in a relationship. There was a big story years ago where the girl he was dating I'm just trying to make us a credible news source, Stavi. where he had the girl he was dating did the eyeballs emoji in his comments.
So I see. Sure. That you're right. You're bringing us back to credible news source. I apologize. You are quoting emojis from his ex-girlfriend in his Instagram comments. No, of course he cheats on whatever girlfriend he has. Right now I think he's dating an I don't remember what movie she's from, but he's dating an incredibly hot actress. Anyway, my point is, and he's high. He's also a pothead. He's just. You ever see that local news segment where he's talking about scaffolding, and they don't know that they're talking to an NBA player? He's just talking about how cool the scaffolding is on a fucking building. It rules. Klay rocks for sure.
I'll give you one who I love, Jimmy Butler. Everything about Jimmy Butler I love. He's funny. He's a gamer. I feel like he kind of did what Chris Paul did but he did it with the Heat this year.
Now he's intense. I mean, he's really good, and he's very intense. I feel like Jimmy Butler's a guy I would be annoyed with if he was on my team, but respect when he's not on my team.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Sprewell a lot. I just watched this thing on Sprewell when he was with Golden State. It was like an ESPN thing where he choked Carlissimo, and I didn't realize he went back and choked him again. I didn't realize he got broken up, and he went in for seconds.
I did not know that either.
I was like, holy shit.
That rocks.
And Carlissimo was so cool about it in the interview. He was like, look, did I deserve it? Maybe. You know, like, and then they asked him if it was like the N-word. He was like, he's like, if there's one thing about me, I was like, all right, thank God it wasn't racial. You're like, thank God for that. Shit.
I want to like James Harden, and I think I would if the league would stop letting him travel, because I think he's so talented.
Yeah.
But he's literally incorporated the travel into his repertoire. Like, it's not close.
The step you're talking about on the step back specifically?
Yeah, it's not even close. But I think he's somebody with so much he has so much skill and so much talent that if he was averaging 28 a game and not flopping and not traveling, I think everybody would love him. But it's like there's that extra 10 points he gets from sort of soccer style flopping.
I love him
he is
for
the
that,
most
actually.
talented scorer, though. He is,
oh my God!
I don't think it's even close in terms of like pure talent.
Getting
so underrated in his
manufacturing.
Strength. He's so strong. Like, people don't think about it because he's kind of finesse. Dude's built like a brick. Like, people can't rip the ball from him. And Zion, I mean, I could go through the whole NBA and find, but Zion, I really hope he stays healthy.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I never thought I'd see somebody so quickly that I'd be like, you know, nobody's ever going to – LeBron is such an evolution physically. And then all of a sudden, like, within LeBron's career, there's some kid who's just like, what if LeBron was 300 pounds and could like jump more violently?
Well, he feels to me like evolutionary Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
Like you fucking put super soldier serum in Barkley, and it's like,
that's a good.
I was watching clips of Zion and Ja lately, and it's an insane rookie class. You know, the jury's still out. We don't know if RJ is going to be in that conversation, but you know, I'm still excited. But
I think they got to give it to Ja Morant out of respect, even though if you're watching them, you're like, we all know if Zion played 40 games, this is his award. But Ja Morant has been nasty. Ja Morant
he's a beast.
Is really good. I had no idea, like, until I saw him play the Jazz. He's the only person I saw, because I have the team pass. I get all the Jazz
league
teams.
Pass. Yeah.
No, I go cheap.
Oh, you just get Jazz.
Because I know I don't have enough time to watch like
right.
If I want to watch Golden State or LeBron, they'll be on national TV.
Of course,
but when I watch,
you don't want to watch fucking Memphis and like OKC or like I love watching Kings games. It's fun. Yeah. The random teams you end up like watching. Although,
but then there's always like lockout restrictions where they're like, this game is just not here,
dude,
and there's no rhyme or reason.
I got lockout restrictions because of the Nets. They were playing the Hornets. You know how fucking pissed off I was that they wanted to make me go to a TV to watch. I'm like, I'm just trying to kill 7 minutes, dude. Like, please don't make. I'm watching the Hornets, but anyway.
I just want to hear Ian Eagle make a few like. Okay,
I want to hear Ian Eagle.
Store brand Marv Albert. But I like Ja Morant was the one guy this year that I actually watched, and I think Memphis beat Utah, and it was one of those losses where I was like, come on, guys, we're fighting for like the 2 seed. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right.
But he was so good. I found myself just going, ooh. Do you know what I mean? Like I wasn't he took me out of my fan, and I was like, oh my God, what a great move. Instead of being like, you got to block him, dude.
Absolutely. And he's so skinny too. And he's like so clearly young. I even think like, I don't know if it's, I mean, people talk about Zion, but to me, it's like what's impressive. Like, well, Zion was hurt. I don't think he makes it through an 82 game season, especially now. And Ja was hurt a little bit, but he's the guy on a team that no one thought was going to be the 8th seed. Yeah. I think it's right now is kind of the point where you can extrapolate Zion being like, oh yeah, if we got this Zion for 60 games, it would. But I just think like Zion, especially because of his body, is like not the kind of guy who's going to hold up over a season. And especially when you look at what Ja did, like I love Ja. I'm so impressed by being the leader and being the guy who takes the clutch shots on that fucking team.
And explosive. Like I knew he
in
had
an insane way.
I knew he had like a little Kyrie in him, but I didn't know he had a little Dwayne Wade in him.
I was just about to bring up Wade because I think watching them, I'm like, this is going to be that thing like with the LeBron class. Obviously, LeBron goes #1. There's no doubt about that. But Wade got to a title first.
Right.
You know what I mean? He got the title first and became sort of he jumped LeBron until LeBron joined him. Wade was the first one of those to get that Finals MVP. And Ja Morant, I don't know if they can put something around him. I think the thing that's going to hurt Morant is that they weren't supposed to be this good yet. Like they need that extra lottery top 6 pick to join him. But now they're either going to make the playoffs or get like that 14th pick. And if your GM isn't drafting brilliantly, you're not getting that stud to join your other star.
And the Pelicans are already really good because they have Ingram and they could get something for Drew Holiday probably. I mean, they're interesting.
David Griffin, he's just fucking he played this perfectly. Get it? I mean, the way you get that King's ransom for AD, and then the fact they win the lottery, it's just like it's perfect. It's truly perfect to the point where if Zion was healthy, maybe they could have he can play all 82 games or whatever if he's only playing 25 minutes. If they just kind of look at his minutes the way they even Giannis never plays more than 30 minutes. He's a fucking
Lonzo, man. Lonzo Ball is nice. I like him. I'm a fan. He's a great passer.
The thing I'll say about Memphis's future is I totally agree with you in terms of this year, but I almost think like this is kind of the year to have a 14-15 pick. Like this draft kind of sucks. Yeah. I think they're going to be bad next year just because of the way the Warriors are back.
Agreed.
The Pelicans are going to be like
Portland's going to make.
Portland's going to come back for sure. It's just
Rudy Gobert is COVID free.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Did that break your heart?
I mean, when I saw that, I was watching the game, OKC, Utah, and I'm sitting there and they're calling the teams back in. And I go, please don't let this be that Rudy Gobert has COVID, because they had said they literally had said he was out sick. And then they come back and Rudy Gobert becomes, not since Malone and Stockton in the finals have we dominated NBA headlines like this.
Right.
That's all we can get. We just get to shut down pro sports. That's the Jazz legacy for this year.
Well, what do you think about the beef between Mitchell and Gobert? Because that was making headlines, and they say that they reconcile, but I mean, who knows, right?
I mean, in this day and age, when you look at a team and you thought they were all saying the right things before this happened, like they were going to be the new Stockton Malone. They want to be here long term. They've developed here both as players. And when you hear that and you see how teams and players just are constantly shifting now, this horrifying thought went through my mind where I was like, wait, like by next season, we might not have one of these guys, like literally one of the cornerstones of the team. So I hope they patched it up. They say they did. I hope they did, but I can't be mad at Mitchell, if Gobert was being like reckless, because it's not even Mitchell survives it, but it's like, what if Mitchell goes home and gives his mom?
Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns mom's died from it.
Right. I just hope. I mean, I think Gobert said and did all. He gave a lot to charity. Genuinely apologized. He was being an idiot. But you look around the country. It's not like there aren't like millions of people going. It's a hoax.
Yeah, so, he should rebrand as a fucking MAGA guy. He would be their hero.
Oh, wow.
He would be like, it's fake.
MAGA Bear.
Yeah.
I mean, but didn't you feel like when Hayward went to the Celtics, part of me was like, well, the Jazz are kind of fucked for a few years. And then they get Donovan Mitchell in the draft.
Huge.
Who the Knicks passed on for Frank Ntilikina. Again, the jury is still in. We don't know yet.
Frank is a great defensive player. He could find a place in the rotation.
Jury's out
on any good team.
La Femme Ntilikina. But it was. Mitchell was and the fact is Mitchell wasn't even in the starting lineup until there was an injury his rookie year, and then we got to see him do his thing. So it was great luck because Hayward, that annoyed me because it was like you knew you were going. Like it wasn't one of those I heard everybody's pitch and then like you waited the like 4 days till every free agent was gone, and then you're like, I'm going to play for my college coach. And I was like, and you knew that. You knew you were going there. There was no like he made the pitch to me. And you could have maybe just told the Jazz, I'm going to go to Boston. Why don't you go get Jimmy Butler while he's still around or something?
Right.
But it's, this would suck if
the Jazz also did lowball him the year before, though. Like the Jazz kind of shot themselves in the foot where they didn't offer him the full max, and then he played up to it. And I think I don't know. That's kind of I would be worried if I was a Jazz fan about what you do with Gobert and Mitchell. Would you just max them both out, no questions asked?
I think the Jazz, the type of franchise they are, they're not like the scheming sort of. They're just like we want our fans to have a good product,
right?
And we'll hope that we can build and player development around them. So I think they just go, and Gobert's eligible for a super max.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Would you give him the super max? That's kind of crazy.
He's so central to their defense, except this year their defense kind of sucked. That was what was sort of weird. He took a step back, and I don't think he's going to win this year. I think Giannis. No. He's not. He's definitely not winning because Supermax
is crazy for. I won't say that he does nothing on offense, but he is a defensive player.
It's not. Bill Russell isn't getting a supermax in today's NBA. So I don't think he is a supermax player, but you're in that sort of. At the same time, though, the Jazz have sort of part of their franchise has been to treat players well. They know they have to. They're in a small market, so they have a great reputation for loyalty and player development. So I think if you look at this team, in 2 years when those two guys are eligible, you'll have Bogdanovich, who's really good. You'll have hopefully some young guard or something helping out because Conley will be gone. And maybe you're in a position where you're like, you know what? We're a 56-win team with a shot at a title. We gotta keep these guys together because maybe we're not playing for a dynasty, but maybe we're playing for one title. Which what team that doesn't have a title wouldn't mortgage everything if they could get that title? Toronto did it, and nobody regrets
No.
What they
You got to roll the
no.
dice, and you guys do play a team game. I enjoy watching you guys because you have guys like Ingles and Mitchell who share the ball, and Ingles is such a fun player to watch.
Ingles is so like. I still am not sure about Mike Conley. Like, there's a real division on Jazz Twitter.
Yeah.
Of like,
is that hashtag take note?
Yeah. Yep. And it's sort of Conley. I know he's a good player, but you have to wonder at some point a player starts to decline. Did we get him at his declining moment?
Yeah.
Whereas Ingles, when Ingles took over sort of point forward, when Conley was injured, it was beautiful. He ran the pick and roll so well with Gobert because he's 6'7". He has long arms. He's not like Conley is Conley's like Iverson size.
Well, that's the problem is like, so is like Mitchell's got a crazy wingspan, but Mitchell's 6'1". Like they're both little guards. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. I like Mitchell and Ingles as the backcourt. Because then you're getting one big guard, even though he's the one handling the ball and the small guard is more the two guard.
I don't think Ingles can do that full time though. You know, I don't know. I'm telling you, he was. I think because he knows their system so well. He's very competent at it.
Ingles
the offense improved.
Ingles is like a big game player. I remember when they beat the Thunder, and he was fucking trolling Paul George.
It was awesome.
It was awesome. That was hysterical. In what universe is Joe Ingles outplaying Paul George, who's a fucking top 10 player?
Playoff J greater than playoff P.
That's right. Honestly, a win for racists everywhere. Just be able to see Joe Ingles doing that. Just that it brought a tear to that guy that got kicked out for saying whatever to Russell Westbrook. It brought a tear to that guy's eye to see
Mitt Romney courtside in khakis. Yes.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful jump shot.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm worried. Yeah, I think because I'm a Conley fan, and I was like, I kind of was hoping he would go to the East to just get one All-Star team, sneak in there once.
Yeah.
But I thought the Jazz. Well, I didn't realize how short Mitchell was. He plays bigger, so I thought Mitchell was like 6'4". So I was like,
we had a whole
this
episode
makes
about
sense.
that. I thought he was like 6'5", 6'6". I didn't realize he was this because he throws down thunderous dunks. So you don't think of him
his
as
wingspan. He's got a fucking crazy wingspan. But yeah, Conley, and his contract isn't cheap next year either.
Well, I thought when I saw the way that he was playing, like early in the season, I thought to myself, we got Mitchell, Gobert, and Bogdanovich was 20 a game and really
great
gave
pickup.
them exactly
Bogdanovich
what they wanted.
Perfect.
Yeah, he is going to be one of those guys that's a total bargain. Like 3 years from now, when he's still making 17 mil and he's like one of the elite shooters. But I thought to myself, I was like, I know Chris Paul's making $44 million. But when I looked at Chris Paul and I said, God, if you could switch Conley and Chris Paul, I will pay that luxury tax. That is, we are contender. Like we are legit
100%. 100%.
Isn't that worth, that luxury tax?
No.
Come on.
Who's the
Again,
who owns
that
the
is
Jazz?
a small backcourt still with Paul. I mean, at least Paul is a nut on defense, and he will kick your sack.
Yeah, but at the same time, that's it's small, but that was, I mean, they knew that when it came to Conley, it was just they needed more shooting. They needed something. Yeah. They needed to open the shit up, and Chris Paul does that for you. And he's obviously, you see what he does with what he did with the Thunder.
Utah might be the most fun team in the league to watch if they have a backcourt of Chris Paul and Donovan Mitchell.
Well, I don't see that happening.
They're up there. Yeah. They're up there for sure.
I don't see how they get to that. How could they even get to that money? It would have to be like Conley and like
a first rounder or two. But does OKC even need first rounders anymore?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not Utah's. Yeah, you're right. What do they care about Utah? Yeah. It's not happening.
No, of course not. Of course not. It's just that was one of my fantasy trades where I don't have to worry about any things that GMs have to worry about.
Of course, yeah.
What if we gave you Gobert and Royce O'Neal for LeBron?
You just turn
Anthony Davis and Gobert. That's so nasty. You're never getting a layup against that team. Who says
Twin
no?
Towers.
Do you think the Lakers take it if it comes back?
The only reason I'd say no is because I don't know what people have been doing. Like, this is a very weird break.
Yeah.
Like, maybe Anthony Davis has been chilling. I don't know. Maybe he gave up on the seat, so who knows? But I think I definitely thought they were going to come out of the West. I'm not actually a big believer in the Clippers, mainly because I don't believe in Paul George. Like, I think Kawhi is obviously a stud, and Paul George is very talented, but we beat him. We beat Paul George. I'm not impressed.
Right.
I think George, though, I think he kind of stepped up with the Thunder last year. I know they lost, but dude, I feel like
he had a stretch.
Dude, he was third in MVP last year. I mean, he was a killer.
No, he is, but he's one of those guys. I hate to sound like a what's his name with Shannon Sharp? Who's the other one with Shannon Sharp?
Yeah,
Bayless.
Skip.
Bayless. I feel like I sound like a Bayless, but Paul George is one of those guys that I do say, I kind of need you. You've had a lot of shots. I kind of need you to show me now, because like you've been in the mix long enough that I need you to like win a series.
Has he had shots though? I mean, when he was with the Pacers, they went down to LeBron. When he was with the Thunder, that was like Melo at the decline with Westbrook, who was.
But he got outplayed by Joe Ingles, man.
That's what I'm talking. That's why I think I saw that up close because I was watching that series, and he had like a 40-point game, and it was like they were talking about playoff P, and then they basically just ran him off the like. That was it. He had like a series of bad games.
Yeah, it's not that he hasn't shown up; it's that he's embarrassed himself a couple times in recent memory. Even though, again, early on when there was no pressure on him, when he was like the new kid on the block, he was incredible with those fucking Pacers teams. I mean,
you make
they really
good point.
pushed the Heat.
Although the Clippers' depth, especially if people are out of shape, that's when they become a problem because you have so many dudes on the bench who are just ready now. I mean. They have more depth than the Lakers, for sure.
I will say about a guy who is talented, but like, maybe shies away from the big moment or whatever. It's like he's not a number one, but he's overqualified to be a number two, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of thing where he might be able to win you one game, like he can pull that off, especially when you have Kawhi, who has proven. You want to talk about like.
But AD is the most overqualified number two. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but in terms of like what playoffs and like being a winning player and shit like that, again, to get real skip with it, it's like AD didn't really make the playoffs. He made the playoffs once.
They fucked up the Blazers in the playoffs one year.
Because he had like a monster series, didn't he? In that series,
they were great. They were great that year.
But they didn't have Boogie. They had Boogie.
Okay, they made the playoffs twice. So they made it that year, and they made it the one year where they were the AC that got slaughtered by the Warriors. But you could argue that AD, he's definitely overqualified to be number two, but he's raw. Like he's the best. He's so good, but he really has not had big moments at all, except for that Blazers series.
I just think the way they were playing, though, it'd be hard for me to go against them. Just those two are just
they're my pick too, for sure. I think LeBron. I mean, I'm just not betting against LeBron, especially it's like he's willing that team to be that good. Because you look at the spare parts and it's like, this really is not that deep. The
guy I'm not a huge fan of, even though I respect how he's built himself up and improved his game. I don't actually enjoy watching Giannis play basketball.
Whoa, no. You picked the wrong podcast. That's Stock's favorite.
That's my guy.
No, and I understand. And it's like you look at the stat line, incredible. You look
insane.
At
better
the
than
body,
Shaq.
The improvement of his physicality, incredible. The some of the things he does coast to coast, incredible. But having watched him enough, like in terms of half court game,
no, I agree with
I'm always like, oh, you're this. He's not actually like you think. Oh, he's like this 7 foot forward. He's not Kevin Durant out there. He's still kind of. I think Bill Simmons made this point, so I don't want to pretend like it's mine, but I think he compared him almost to Wilt Chamberlain. And I think this is almost what Wilt would look like if he was born in today's, which is a great compliment. You're talking about a top five sort of unstoppable
on and off the
force.
Court, let's face it.
Yes. Yeah. He was Klay Thompson before Klay Thompson. But that's kind of what, like Giannis is so athletic and long and strong that it's like, but his actual game, like when I watch it, I'm like, let me just see his stat line after the game. That's the prettiest thing about his game to me.
Yeah, the half court can be tough. I mean, when he doesn't have the like drives to the rim going, the half court game is tough. And that I am, as he's my guy, he's my favorite player. Obviously it's like the first Greek guy, I mean, to ever be an MVP. I mean, it's crazy. But the half court offense really does scare me, because when push comes to shove in the playoffs, that is his weakest. Like, he's a good passer. He can dish, he can drive and dish, and they have enough shooting. But other than that, when it's like they really need to get a bucket, it's kind of, he's got to drive. He's got to just put his head down and get the bucket and get to the line. And he's great at that. But when that stalls, and some teams have made it stall, there's no mid-range. Right. There's no real post game either. It's like, it's really a drive to the hoop type of shit. It's not a manufacturer get to the buckets type of thing. And his shooting is, we can say it's improved, but push comes to shove, it's like people are not respecting, even though he's a 30% 3-point shooter, it doesn't, people like still aren't respecting it.
It is like, I mean, I know they're totally different players, but Russ is so electric in the open floor, and Russ puts up these incredible numbers, but in the playoffs in the half court is when he struggled. And that's where I see Giannis's struggles. I haven't seen Russ make the improvements that Giannis has made. Right. His shot is like gone worse every year, it seems, for us.
I respect Russ, though, because I think the reason Houston started turning it around, and this is like the first time, I've never been a big Westbrook fan. I always, I keep saying this. I sound like such a douche. I'm like, I don't like him, but I respect him.
You're a fan, though, dude. Times. But you're an NBA fan, right. So I get it.
But Westbrook, I'm the same way. To me, what I was impressed with this year is like Houston was not playing that great, and he was chucking up, like his numbers were not good from the floor. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he just stopped taking 3-pointers. It was as if he realized, well, I'm not good at threes, even though everybody keeps talking about how you have to shoot threes in today's NBA. But he's like, but I am stronger and more athletic than every other guard in this league. So why don't I just do mid-range and dunks? Yeah, and all of a sudden his stat line, now he was going like, 15 for 23 and like 0 for 2 from 3 instead of like 1 for 9. And
we started playing power forward, essentially, is what happened. Like he is the power forward on that team.
I remember for people who, Shaq, it was always sort of fashionable to sort of go, oh, he's just big, he's just this and that. Like, people don't realize the athleticism and the skill he still needed to be what he was. And I've always thought Westbrook, to me, gets too much credit because he's a guard. So there's this assumption that he has amazing skills. And I'm like, he's sort of below average skilled as a guard. He's just a top 5 NBA athlete ever. Right. Do you know what I mean? In terms of just his motor, his strength, his explosion. He is like to me, he's like a Wilt Chamberlain for guards. In other words, he just can overpower you with sheer will and God-given and workout gifts. Because it's not like you get out there and he's, oh my God, he's shooting the lights out, or oh my God, look at that. Like, no, he just sort of overpowers you. But because he's a guard, I feel like people always give him this credit, like such an amazing player. I'm like, he's kind of just,
he's a good passer. I mean, he does have skills. I mean,
I mean, like, of course he has skill, but nobody, I think, looks at him and goes, who are the elite passers in the league? Who are the elite rebounding? He's an elite rebounding guard, but I think that's also because it's like you said, he's kind of almost like a 6'3" explosive power forward.
Totally. And what you're saying makes sense. Houston was just like, fuck it. Yeah, he's a power forward. Positionless basketball. Doesn't matter how fucking tall you are. You get to play like the big man, and PJ Tucker will fucking stand in the corner, Russ. Like that's how they play, where they literally have that. And I mean, he's like a fucking Terminator. His knee injury is the same one that D Rose had. And look at Russ, and like Derrick Rose has finally gotten to the point where he can show flashes, but Russ like fucking came back like it was nothing. And it's like he's a freak for sure.
Yeah, he's I mean, he's just I don't like I would love to watch that guy, as homoerotic as this sounds. I would love to watch that guy work out, because I feel like it would be like a Rocky IV montage.
Yeah.
Because he just must be an absolute workout beast.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I also feel like he's the kind of guy who is always pissed off. Like, everything you hear about him at the Thunder building or whatever, it's just like he just always had that kind of edge, which is like, yeah, I don't know. It's him and James Harden being boys is so funny, because no one has ever said, damn, I want to watch Harden work out. I wonder how he does it. Like, no, he's just not. I mean, maybe I want to watch Harden take his shots. I want to see what he's shooting, but no, like he's not in the gym. He's not fucking lifting weights. He's not doing any of that stuff. So it's a fun. I root for the Rockets because they're so funny and weird, and I like that he plays power forward, and I like that Robert Covington is essentially their center.
It makes zero sense, and that's why it's fun.
Yeah,
And a team like that,
like what you're saying, JL, where it's like you would have picked the Lakers before all this, but who knows what the fuck's going to happen now? A team like the Rockets is like, okay, I could see them winning the fucking championship because they're so weird.
Or Westbrook just hasn't left the treadmill since COVID, so he's just going to be going for like 40 and 20 every game while other people are getting their wind.
Well, Harden
you might be
also
right, dude. AD is like sipping daiquiris on a beach somewhere, whereas fucking Westbrook's just doing one-arm push-ups, and he hasn't stopped since day one.
Westbrook came back 6'4", 255, running a 4.140.
Yeah, I want to see him on steroids. Let's get him. Let's let him do the blood doping that fucking Kobe was doing.
He just never stopped running. He'd never stop running. He just jogging in place during timeouts.
Yeah, I wonder
what steroids would look like in basketball. Because I'll tell you,
they're called Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
Do you think Dwight roids? Do you think he's something?
No, not anymore. But he and obviously he's older now. But he was with Orlando. I don't think people realized how jacked Dwight Howard, like he was like sculpted and huge, not just like I'm a giant big man. It was like sculpted. And maybe not. I'm talking out of my ass, but like I just remember looking at him going, that guy looks like he's like a piece of art. Like
I remember young David Robinson and just being like, who is this guy? He is shredded.
Yeah, the greatest arms I think in NBA history, David Robinson.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, I think steroids probably just look like injury recovery in the NBA. You know what I mean? Like that's what they're. I mean, people say it about LeBron, where it's like this guy like has scientists on staff, like he sleeps in a fucking tent in like a blood, you know, like he's in some kind of like hyperbaric chamber. He's just like he's literally freezing himself, and it's like you don't think maybe he's like he takes it so seriously that he has. You know, he knows shit that doesn't get traced. I mean, I don't know. I'm partial to that argument.
There were a couple of photos I saw of him in the middle of the Miami years where I was like, that dude's pretty jacked.
Yeah.
Like just 6'8", 280 and fastest guy on the court. It was like.
But what's interesting about that is what they say about steroids, and like I don't know if it's if it's untrue or if it's true or not about it'll fuck your skill up, you'll get stronger. LeBron in those years. I mean, he was the most efficient he's ever been. Like that's 60. He almost shot fucking 60% from the field one of those years.
Oh, and I don't want it to be true because I feel like if they ever come for steroids in the NBA, my boy Karl Malone, they'll be like looking up. It'll be like Jurassic Park. They'll be looking up like samples of him from 1998. So I don't want any of this to come out.
Oh man. Yeah, the samples will be taken from a rape kit from the 80s.
Yes, I do. Damn it.
We've done some deep dives on Malone. I don't think that's why he's going down.
It's a tough one for me, though, because, of course, I don't condone any of the stuff I've heard.
Yes.
And even my instincts want to, like, when you've been such a fan, especially from childhood, in my head, I'm like, well, he was just some ignorant country trash dude. That was probably very common back then. But, of course, I can't say, like, I don't really feel that way. I'm making an excuse for like the player that was my favorite growing up.
Right.
Yeah.
But good for him for finding going to Utah and finding a population that might not have an issue with impregnating a 13-year-old girl.
Plural marriage and
they're just mad he didn't marry her. Yeah. This is Utah, Carl. Goddammit. You marry the child you impregnate.
He really got by with it, where it's kind of crazy because in this day and age, like there's no player that survives that shit. It's kind of crazy.
Maybe Klay Thompson. No.
How dare you?
Oh, no way. Like
they're IG models.
I always joke, though, with people. I go, what do you want Carmelo to do? His two illegitimate kids both made professional sports teams. Like, he gave them all they needed to succeed. It's the ones that he stayed with that didn't do shit.
That's right. Yeah, they got the drive.
But they also got that hunger to prove dad wrong.
Wow.
That would be Carmelo's argument, too. He's like, I gave you bootstraps. I gave you the best thing you could ever have asked for. Look at your socialist half siblings that grew up with all the food they could ever want. Yeah, that's a hilarious guy too. It's so funny to just randomly be basically a little contrarian kid and then end up having to root for a statutory rapist without knowing it.
Fortunately, I had no idea. Fortunately, I had no idea his whole career.
Well, because they buried it. Exactly. That's the thing. It's like this shit. If somebody powerful did something this horrible, you just didn't hear about it.
I think, to me, the saddest thing, the most embarrassing thing I have in terms of Karl Malone is, in 8th grade, I wore Karl Malone LA Gear sneakers.
Oh, I forgot about those.
I was desperate. I was like, my guy's a dream teamer, man.
Right.
When's he's got to get a shoe. And then it was like, Karl Malone got a shoe. Oh, is it Reebok, Nike, Adidas, LA Gear? Oh, God.
Did they light up?
No, they were not light ups. And I got the black ones because the ones that looked like feminine Laker sneakers, like the gold, purple, white, I couldn't deal with. So I got the black ones. And I was just like, I was tall enough. I was a big enough kid and like a good enough basketball player that I didn't get too much shit. But it takes real character to buy LA Gear Malone sneakers in New York.
We'll be wearing LA Gear Malone.
92.
That's brutal. That is, you really put yourself through it. I can't even imagine. So you played in high school?
I played in high school, played D3 in college.
Oh, cool.
So
you were 6'7"?
6'7", yeah.
Oh, nice.
Total, and that's the thing with Malone also is by college, I was a total weight room, guy. So like Malone was the epitome of weight room meets basketball.
Totally.
I was weight room meets bench, but still.
Right.
I was more of an Antoine Carr, I guess, than a Karl Malone.
What was your game? Who would you say your game was like?
Well, what's annoying is that I had this old school coach in high school. And I mean, our colors were maroon and gray, but he wore a red sweater and had white hair because he wanted to be Bobby Knight.
Hysterical.
So it was like he wasn't even wearing our school colors. He was just like, I want to be Bobby Knight. So I was the best shooter on our high school team, but this is 1996, 97, where it's like 6'7", our next tallest guy is 6'2". Get your ass in the paint and don't take any of these jump shots. And then, so I was a really good shooter. I think if I was growing up today, that would be more recognized.
For sure.
I'd still be a big, strong kid. So it would be play inside, but it would be like, feel free to do a step back 3 every now and again, because you can do that. So my game, it was like, since you mentioned him before, it's like a muscular Mehmet Okur.
I've seen pictures. You were shredded, man.
Yeah, it's so sad what I am now. I'm just like,
well, we're older. Shit.
No, but I've really let it go. And then, of course, the last couple of years, as I tried to get in shape, now I'm getting injuries when I try to get in shape. So it's like, oh no, I missed my window to get. Now I'm just trying not to get. I'm trying not to die. I think there's my new health goal.
There's nothing worse than being like, you know what? It's time. I'm going to fucking lift. I'm going to get there. And immediately, I was just starting, literally 3 weeks ago, I was like, I'm going to start doing a little cardio. I'm going to be doing body weight stuff. Immediately fucked my shoulder up doing push-ups and hurt my tailbone. I have a standing desk. I had to do podcasts standing up for a week because I could not sit down because I did too deep of a squat. It's like your body's just done. It just gives up on you.
It's so sad. It's and I hurt my spine a couple of years ago. I had lost 30 pounds, and it was like the toughest time to lose weight is sort of the winter if you're trying to lose weight because you're hibernating. But I did it. I got to May, and I had gone from 295 to 268. And I was like, okay, now I've got the summer where I can run, and now I'm really going to get back. And I was at the gym. I think it was the Funny Bone in Liberty Township. There was a gym nearby that I was using. And I was like, all right. I was getting to the gym on the road, doing all the right things. And this injury I'd had before, it was just a tweak kind of injury. It was one that came and went, but this time it just stayed. Brutal. And I would wake up and I still have nerve issues on that side of my body. So that it's almost like I had a stroke because I've done the rehab and stuff. It's terrible. So now I'm just instead of being like, oh, I'm trying to do that thing where I'm like, I'm going to lose weight because, people are more into lean. They want me to be more of a lean thing, even though my ego is like, I want to throw up weights, bro.
Yeah. I want to be jacked. All I'm trying to get to is fat guy, big arms. That's it. That's what I've settled on. I want to look like a bouncer. That's it. That's where I'm at.
That's a look. That's an
exactly
acceptable look.
It's an acceptable look in our society. I've been watching a lot of Sopranos. Yeah. I want to be season 3. I don't think I can be season 1, Tony. Okay, I just don't want to be season set. I don't want to be the last season Tony.
Right.
Give me season 3 Tony.
Season 3, you want to be like Carmelo mink coat big.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Right now, I am out of shape Chris Gatling body. Even in shape, that guy had like the definition of, I don't want that body. That's not a pro athlete body.
No, brutal.
There aren't
He
guys
was skinny
like
fat.
that
He was
in the
skinny
NBA
fat
anymore. There aren't like Oliver Millers in the NBA anymore.
No. R.I.P. R.I.P. to that body type. Did you play anybody in New York ball? Did you ever play anybody that
a couple people. Wait, did I?
like
a couple people
or...
that went like Ivy League. Nobody of that I can recall. I played at 5-star basketball camp before my senior year. I did play against Ron Artest.
Oh shit!
But I never played like a guy like our teams were playing, and I think I'd been on the court very briefly against him, but not guarding him. Thank God. To put it in perspective, what he was built like the summer before my senior year of high school is what after 4 years of weight training I was built like in college.
Right.
Just a man, the frame itself. Like I was probably like more weight room strong than him when he was 17, when I was 22. But he was just the hands, the shoulders, like the whole frame was just like, he's just a massive dude. And I remember a guy on my team, I never forget, I don't know his last name, but his name was Bob, because you're only there for a week. But it was this guy from Alabama, 6'5", lanky guy, sort of, was going to end up being some sort of like low-level college power forward or something.
Right.
Caught an alley-oop reverse dunk on Artest's head.
Holy shit.
And it was not like a brag thing, because it wasn't like a flashy thing. He just went up, and that was the only way he could dunk it.
Right.
I remember that guy won like newcomer of the week, like unsung hero, like the guy nobody had heard of, but he had a really good week. This guy, Bob, whoever he was. But I remember Artest, like 2 plays later, just basically like checked somebody into the wall going for a loose ball. And I was like, thank God I'm not guarding that guy. And then I watched the documentary about him, and I'm like, we got off easy. This guy was like throwing people off of rafters and shit in high school. So I was like, oh, the body check into the sideline is like, that's gentleman's play.
Of course.
From high school Ron Artest.
That's cotillion Ron Artest. Fuck. Well, what was the documentary on?
Showtime.
It's a good one.
I really I watched it. I said, if it sucks, I'll turn off. I thought it was awesome. Just about him in Queens and like growing up and becoming who he was.
He played on some sort of high school, like
Riverside Church. With,
but it was with like
and Elton Brand.
Unreal. Imagine playing those 3 in high school.
Wow. Maybe this Thursday's
episode. I played on like a lesser team at Riverside Church. Obviously not on the traveling to Atlanta sponsored by Adidas squad.
Right.
But I met Elton Brand briefly when he was like talking to the main guy, who apparently, has passed, but was a fan of young men apparently.
Oh, geez.
And
it's the nicest way I've ever heard someone describe a pedophile in my life.
As a Karl Malone fan, I have to negotiate the terminology.
Yeah.
But there was another guy who was in that Riverside Church photo that they used in who went to St. John's but was not at that level. This guy, Anthony Glover. It's another one of those guys where I'm like, I was as big as that guy at 22 as he was at 17.
Right.
This guy was just so naturally jacked at 17 at like 6'6".
Yeah.
I caught an elbow from him, not an intentional elbow, but like he didn't like know I was behind him and he like went for a rebound. I couldn't breathe for like 30 seconds. And I was just like, you gotta be, what? That's, now he peaked at like 18 because he was already just a jacked man ready to like destroy people. And he went, he got a ride to St. John, so he's legit. But when somebody's built like that at 17, you're like, I don't know how unless I'm some high flyer or super skilled dude, there's no way I can compete.
What the fuck am I doing here? I had listen, I don't know that I've had that. I had a much more embarrassing version of that, which is making my middle school basketball team at 5'7" and then showing as just a fat white kid who can't shoot. I'm not a shooter. I was throwing my weight around in middle school and then showing up to high school and being like, I'm going to make the team. And guys are dunking and shit. And I just left. I was like, all right. They were like, start running. I was like, why? Why run? I'm leaving. It is not. The one thing about sports that's nice is just like, there is a clear winner and loser. There's no, you can't get a fucking write up. There's no buzz about it. It's like, you get at the end of the day, you get on the fucking floor and you like prove it, and that's cool about it for sure.
Right, and if you're awesome, like you can always be cut if you're like, well, I'm either going to sit the bench or I'm not going to make the team. But if you're awesome, you just know, you find out, and then you find out if the other team's guy is more awesome than you or not.
Yeah,
There's well, he did score 38, but I think you noticed that I just had a more well-rounded 11, 8, and 7. So I think we're both pretty much equal. We lost by 20, but I think he knows that I bring it.
I love guys.
By the end, I had it. By the end, I was on a roll.
Do you remember when Ruben Patterson deemed himself the Kobe stopper?
The Kobe stopper.
And Kobe just fucking lit him up, and he was like, I'm the Kobe stopper. We're like, you can't just say that.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't just say you're better at defense on Kobe than any. And the guy played hard.
I'm actually, Sam, you don't know if you know this about me. I'm the Rihanna have sex with her. That's
you up fuck. All right. You know what? We're gonna pay some extra attention to you in the media.
I have done that as much as Ruben Patterson has stopped Kobe. He ate his ass up.
I just can't believe how good, like the talent in the NBA, and it's always been great, but like right now, when you see, I remember when Derrick Rose was in his MVP season, the two things that impressed me about that, I was like, Derrick Rose was exploding past people who were elite athletes and elite defenders, just blowing by them. Oh, yeah. And that was incredible. And then to watch LeBron like put the clamps on him at 6'8" was awesome. That now you're like, and I think Adam Carolla, I remember he used to have this joke where he'd say every Olympic sprint should just have like a good high school sprinter lined up in like an 11th lane. So you can understand that this guy's really fast for real life, and he'll look like a slow piece of shit running next to these guys because they're always so evenly matched. That's why Usain Bolt was so crazy, because it was like he was still blowing guys out in a short race. Crazy. And that's like watching the NBA. I think you lose track sometimes of like the guy who's at the end of the bench on the NBA team is amazing. Is amazing at basketball.
If you saw him, if he was at your gym, you would be like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" You'd be like,
"Right? Oh my god, he reverse dunk. He hasn't missed a 3 in 5 minutes. Dude, who is this guy?"
I watched old Derrick Rose clips in slow motion, and I'm like, he would blow by me in slow motion.
Yeah, and I think people don't realize. I mean, it's absolutely crazy the level of sort of athleticism and talent.
Yeah, I remember I met Jeremy Lin after a show once, and I was talking to him. He's a super nice guy. He really is a cool guy. And I was like, who's the hardest cover for you in the NBA? And he said, it's not even close. It's Russell Westbrook. Wow. And he said, because like we're all freaks. We made it to the NBA. He's a freak amongst freaks. And I was like, oh shit. Yeah. When you watch him, I mean, that's what Rose was. Rose he was going so fast that when you watch it, you're like, how are you not scared to be going this fast?
Yeah, and I knew that Rose, I remember watching him, and I thought to myself, I was like, he's too athletic and strong for his ligaments. I really thought that because I was like, he's doing things that other parts of his body I don't think will be able to sustain. Right. And that turned out to be the truth, because his strength is also underrated, because what I liked about Rose was that he never flopped. And I think he could have gotten more free throws, but he was out there to like go through you, not to like bounce and be like, and flip it up. Like he was like, sometimes he didn't get foul calls because it was like, oh, it didn't look like you bumped him because he's so strong.
Right, the way Shaq wouldn't get foul calls.
Yes.
Even though Shaq could have been, dunk on Dragic, that's what you're talking about. Like, there's some guards that would just like flip something up. He did like a two-handed dunk on Goran Dragic.
He dunked like a big man. Like he dunked like a center at 6'3". Sure. Yeah. I was very sad when he got injured. Like, cause it was just, I mean, you're talking about the youngest MVP in NBA history. Like that trajectory, the odds of him not making the Hall of Fame, are like 100 million to 1 at that point.
At that moment, you would never take that bet.
Is he definitely not making it?
I mean, everybody gets, to me, it's the Mitch Richmond rule, which is like, well, if Mitch Richmond made it, and I think Mitch Richmond was really good, but to me, he's like him and Maurice Cheeks. I'm like, are they really Hall of Famers? Are they like really good players that we like?
Or like anyone that played on like the Knicks, like the Golden Era, like, the Celtics or the Lakers, a lot of shitty fucking players on, not shitty, but like not.
Who on the Knicks who's shitty got in?
Like, who are we talking about? The guy who was fucking, I'm blanking on his name, who was, the guy you said you'd want your mom to, remember the mailbag question? Who do we want our moms to fuck? Yeah, Bill Bradley.
I said date,
player.
not fuck. I'm not playing your game, Stabby. If we played a game, if our mom had to go on a date, I was like, all right, Bill Bradley is a senator. That's like a reasonable, So I don't know.
You're right.
I mean, there's certain players who you're like, they
just role players
like
from great teams.
Chauncey Billups. Like, does he deserve to get in? I don't know. I mean, he's a Finals MVP.
Right.
He's a 4 or 5 time All-Star.
They made like 6 conference finals, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think he deserves to get in. That's my opinion. I know. If you think he doesn't, I totally get it. But
I mean, also there's like benchmarks you have to hit, like points and shit scored, and that's what Rose. I think that's where, because he was a non-disputed, like Hall of Famer for the first 3 or 4 years of his career, and then the rest of it he's not at all. I mean,
how about Ben Wallace? Ben Wallace hasn't made it. I think he should be in.
He may get in, I think, because he has 4 Defensive Player of the Year trophies and a title.
He was so dominant, dude. I think people forget what he would do to a game. Like he would pull in 25 boards and like 6 blocks. You were dominating a game
for sure.
And people forget that Ron Artest really, even though he talked about it a certain way in the documentary, I think Ron Artest didn't want any piece of Ben Wallace,
without question.
And that's scary. That, like, if Ron Artest, if you can sober up Ron Artest like unmedicated to be like, no, I don't want any part of that. That is a man.
He looks at Ben Wallace and just turns around and punches a fat guy in the backwards head instead.
He looks at Ben Wallace the way Tyler Hansborough looked at Ron Artest.
Yes. Do you remember when Ron Artest just elbowed James Harden and was like, that was the most violent hit I've seen in a game, in a modern game. He just basically knocked him out in a game.
I'm looking at Chauncey here, dude. I think 3 times All-NBA, Finals MVP, champion. You know what I mean? Like 2 times All-Defense, and an All-Star 5 times. I mean, I think he's the kind of guy that gets in.
I hope he gets in, but then here's the problem: that Pistons team. Like, I think Sheed should get in. Sheed was a fucking killer.
No, Rasheed, and I'm not even talking about. I'm not saying like an attitude thing. I just think he's a guy who had Hall of Fame trajectory.
Yeah.
But you can't really point to any accomplishments or like notable awards or anything.
But you put Big Ben and Chauncey in.
Well, because they have, they have a little more hardware. They have some of those.
How about Rip Hamilton now?
No.
Yeah. All right. I'm just asking. Those
I think
All-Stars.
Billups and Wallace are the 2 most likely, and they're the only 2 that get in from that team.
Then
how about guys under the like MVP level who get in? Guys like Tony Parker, Manu, they've got to get in, right?
Oh, they're in. They're both in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a little bit of like what I just said about great like if you're on a great dynasty type team, if you're one of the top, if you win over 3 chips with a team, it's like, and you're one of the 3 guys people associate, you're gonna get in. Like,
how about Vince Carter?
He's gonna get in.
Vince Carter gets in for sure.
Just amazing highlight person, and he's accumulated the necessary numbers. Even though in my heart, even though I love Vince Carter and he's still the most exciting college player in the history of college basketball for me, I wouldn't put him, like, if I had a real Hall of Fame and I was he probably wouldn't get in, because I'd be like, you were awesome, but like you'd be one of the last people left out. Like if I were redoing it, he would be close.
How about T-Mac?
T-Mac got in already.
Yeah, but I'm asking if JL is saying
that's a great question, because
I'm curious what his take on T-Mac. I think T-Mac should be in.
I think I probably underrated him.
He's a killer, I think. In his 32 a game.
No, I know, and I think I probably underrated T-Mac because he was so void of team accomplishment. I kind of held, he was on this weird extreme where it was like, wait, T-Mac has never won a playoff series? That almost seems like we need to pay attention
to that.
That's
crazy, but it's
yeah.
No, you're right.
Number 2 option on the Magic was Juwan Howard, shit.
It's crazy he's never won it. It's crazy.
Juwan Howard was a great young player, but as he got older, it's like,
he turned into Thurgood Marshall, literally.
Well, fucking T-Mac,
T-Mac was great.
7-time All-NBA. You're not getting in. There's no way.
Multiple scoring champ, I think.
Twice,
2-time scoring champ. Yeah.
Twice. Yeah, there's no way you don't get in.
Penny Hardaway, I think, unfortunately for Derrick Rose, Penny Hardaway is his model. Like Penny Hardaway was going to be a Hall of Famer without any doubt.
Yeah.
And then it just went,
right.
It just ended. It ended before he could get any kind of serious sort of cumulative stats or a major accomplishment. Even though Rose has that MVP, that's literally, I don't know.
I don't know, but it's crazy too, because you think about him choking in college hurts too, because the basketball Hall of Fame is cumulative. So if he wins that year, then I think he's almost certainly in. You're the main guy on a national championship team and an MVP. Melo's definitely in. Olympic medals, all that shit counts too.
In college.
I would not put Melo. I want to be on record.
I know you do. I've seen JL's tweets. I know where he stands on Carmelo. It hurts. It hurts. I just have to look at JL like someone who's I just can't engage with that because it hurts.
Come on, dude. Not in the fucking.
JL talks shit about Knicks fans like it's our fault we suck. We're not happy about it.
No, I think I feel it's weird because I feel I've created Knicks fans into just sort of corporate a-holes, whereas there's a lot of long-time suffering quality fans.
Suffering.
Yeah.
No, but
26,000 points. Fucking scoring champ, 6-time All-NBA, 10-time All-Star, Olympic medals, college basketball championship.
I get why
it's not
JL
even a question.
Hates him, but he's in.
No, and don't get me wrong. I know I'm not saying he doesn't get in. He's absolutely getting in.
Yeah.
But he would be on my you have slightly better stats than Vince Carter, and I like you less, so you also don't get into the JL Hall of Fame.
I hate the JL Hall of Fame. You can't kick Melo out.
You have to pass between a Stockton and Malone statue to get into the Hall of Fame.
All right. I think that's a great way to end. JL being on record that Melo doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, into his personal Hall of Fame.
We're gonna get more comments how I always bring shit back to the Knicks in the fucking episodes, and,
even on a jazz heavy ep. But
follow
man.
JL on Twitter. He's doing great Trump impressions. They're really, really funny. It's just It's on Twitter. It's just JL.
Just JL Cauvin. And if I can I plug one thing?
Of course,
please.
My podcast, As Trump, making podcasts great again, available wherever you get podcasts. It's very fun. It's it's just basically what would Trump be like if he had an unfiltered podcast. So if that sounds like something you might find funny, then you definitely will like it.
And it's tough because you do a legitimately great impression at a time when every asshole does a Trump impression. So it's like,
I know.
So it's like you're like the people amongst you sort of, I guess people think like Trump impression. They think people are just doing like basic fucking, Cheeto jokes or whatever. When in reality, your shit is a great impression, and the writing is really good. So check out JL for sure, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Just in time, like my career. He's got 4 months left in office, 6 months left in office. So it's like JL, it's finally now that we've given everybody else like Comedy Central shows and SNL. Go get some Twitter money for the last 6 months.
Yes. Let's knock on wood that you're right and your career is going back in the toilet so the world can go so the world cannot, JL.
We'll just start brushing up on a Biden impression, man.
I know. And then that'll be the kiss of death. I'll nail a Biden impression and he'll pass away like 3 months in. And it'll be somebody I can't impersonate.
Get a wig. Let's get Kamala going, dude.
JL, just work on Kamala, Stacey Abrams. Just work on every potential black woman that could be his running mate.
Val Demings. I've got a killer Val Demings. People be like, what's she sound like? I don't know. Trust me, it's a really good impression.
It's good. I've tried it. Well, thank you, buddy. Thanks for doing the podcast.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
We really appreciate it. It was really fun. Man, who knows? Maybe some big Jazz news. We'll have you back sometime for sure. But
we'd love to have you back. You were great
for our second round loss in the Orlando Disney playoffs. All right, thanks, guys.
See you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're all set there. And guys, if you want to, we will be back Friday. Maybe we should do that. Doc, maybe we should do that. Maybe I should watch our test.
Watch it. Yeah, it's great.
But that's going to do it for us, guys. That's the pod. And thank you so much. We will talk to you guys Friday, and we will be back again for the free ep on next Tuesday. See ya.